Hello, Prospect Ridge Academy. Thanks again for having me. Like we already talked about, we are going to be making Kirigami stars. We're going to be designing a pattern within a pattern to decorate our Kirigami stars with. Before we start creating, let's break down those two words, Kirigami and pattern. I'm sure you noticed that Kirigami sounds a lot like origami, and that's because they're a lot alike. They are both Japanese art forms using paper, but there's one big difference. In origami, all you're allowed to do is fold the paper into the artwork. But with Kirigami, what we're working on today, you're allowed to fold and cut the paper. The second word I wanted to talk about is pattern. A pattern is a design, line, shape, or color that repeats in a certain order. You can create a pattern with just about anything. Designs, shapes, colors, lines, or even a combination of all of those things. Now that we know about Kirigami and patterns, let's get started. Grab your piece of paper. I'm assuming it's a rectangle right now. We need to turn it into a square, and here's how we're going to do it. First, turn your paper horizontally, side to side like this. Once your paper is ready to go, choose one of the top corners, grab it with one hand while you use your other hand to hold down the paper. What we're going to do is pull down this corner and make the side of the paper match up with the bottom. It's going to create a triangular shape. Hold down the paper and crease it once the edges are nicely matched. Next, we're going to grab our pair of scissors and we're going to cut along this line that the edge of the paper is creating. Once you get to the end of the line, you'll have a leftover scrap of paper that you can use to do just a little bit of math later. Now, when you open up your triangle of paper, it should create a perfect square. And now we're ready to start folding once again to create our Kirigami star. Now, before we start folding, I have a word to the wise. The whole time we're folding this, we need to make sure the paper stays down on our desk or our table so that it doesn't get turned around and we don't get confused about what corner we're folding to or where we're cutting. So keep your paper as best as you can down flat on your workspace. Do not pick it up or turn it unless the directions say so. First of all, we're going to take the bottom edge of this square and we're going to match it up with the top. So with one hand, hold the top of the paper down, and with the other, lift up the bottom, match up the corners and the edges nicely and neatly. And when it's ready, hold the paper down and crease. The neater you make your folds, the better your star will turn out at the very end. Now let's double check, make sure at this point that the folded edge of your paper is on the bottom. I'm all set, my folded edge is on the bottom, and now we're ready to use our ruler. What we're going to do is find the exact middle of the side of our paper. There are a couple of ways to do this. The first way is to use measuring and math. So grab your ruler and match it up with the side edge of your paper. Make sure that the 0 is at the bottom edge of that paper and write down how tall your paper is. Mine is 4.5. I could write it with a fraction or with a decimal like this. And to find the middle, all we've got to do is a little bit of math, divide the length by 2. That means that I need to measure 2.25. So, zooming in on this ruler, I'm going to find 2 inches and then 1/4. And I'm going to mark that spot with a dot. Another way to find the exact middle is to take the top of the paper down to the bottom and gently press down on the top to mark exactly where the middle is. Now that we have found the side middle, we're going to take the bottom right corner and swing it up right at that little dot target that we made. So I always hold down the paper with one hand and do the folding with the other. And another tip is, especially if you're working with thick paper, is to do something I call paper crunches. So before you just fold it really quickly, bend the paper over the line lots of times to get it ready to do that fold. And when it's ready, go ahead and crease. Just a friendly reminder once again, especially right now, keep your paper down on your desk, no turning or picking it up. We have another fold coming up. What we're going to do is bend the paper over this line. This little triangle is going to be folded right over the line. The paper is pretty thick at this point, so I'm going to do plenty of paper crunches before I crease. Take a moment to double check that the bottom of your paper comes to a point, and when you're ready, we're going to do the last fold. What we're going to do is match up this edge of the paper with this edge of the paper. I definitely did my paper crunches that time, and I'm going to make sure that I crease it tightly and that my paper comes to a point at the bottom. Great news, you guys, the folding part is over. Now all we have to do is cut the paper. Do you see the line going across your paper right here? From the end of that line to the bottom point of your paper, we're going to estimate the middle and then scooch down a little bit. Let's watch that one more time. Once you've found the spot that is just a little bit below the middle, mark it with a dot, and then grab your ruler one more time to connect this dot with this corner. Hopefully we haven't moved our paper around so that we're all talking about the same corner. The line we just drew is where we are going to cut the paper. Since this paper is folded up so many times, it's gotten quite thick, we're going to have to use the inner part of the scissors because it's the strongest part of the scissors. So make sure you tuck that paper way down into the scissors and chomp away. The little triangle that you're left with at the bottom is what you are going to carefully unfold into your gorgeous 5-pointed star. Yay, it looks so great! Before we design our patterns, we're going to split up this star into sections. So turn or rotate your star until one of the points is pointing at you. Then grab your Sharpie and draw a vertical up and down line right on the fold from the middle of the star down to the point. Rotate the star and draw the short vertical line on the fold from the center to the edge of the paper. Rotate your star again and draw the tall vertical line. Rotate again and draw the short vertical line, and keep on going until you get all the way around to where you started. Hey, I just noticed something. These lines are creating a pattern. Long, short, long, short. Our next job is to create 2 patterns and fill up each triangle around the star with an alternating pattern of the 2 patterns. It's gonna be a pattern within a pattern, people. So here you have it. I created 1 pattern with kitty faces and polka dots. I'm going to skip over this triangle and fill up the next triangle with the same pattern. And when I'm done filling that triangle, I'll skip the next one, fill up the next one, and so on. I'm going to do this until I get around to the other side. And now my next job is to come up with another pattern to put in between the kitty faces. I'm just going to keep it simple here and do some stripes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a pattern within a pattern. My pattern goes like this: kitty faces and polka dots, stripes. Kitty faces and polka dots, which is a pattern in and of itself. Stripes, which is a pattern in and of itself. Do you get it? It's a pattern within a pattern. So cool. The last thing that we need to make sure we do is pop out this star into 3-dimensional space. And we are going to use a folding pattern to do that. So we noticed before the pattern of long line and short line. Now we're going to use the long and short lines to tell us how to fold in a pattern. we're going to work our way around this star. And when we come to a long line, we're going to fold it up. When we get to a short line, we're going to fold it down. So our folding pattern becomes up and down, up and down. Rotate your star until one of the points is pointing right at you. And you'll notice that we are starting with a long line. On long lines, we fold up. Here we go. Rotate your star to the next line. We might notice it's a short line. Now the pattern goes down. So we're going to take that line and we're going to fold it so that it goes downward. Great. Rotate your star once again and we'll find that we're at a long line. Long lines pop up. So we're going to pop that line up with a crease. And luckily the star was already folded on these lines, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Rotate once again, the shorties go down, and on and on. One thing to make sure of is that the center of the star is popping upwards. Otherwise, continue folding up and down until you get all the way around the star. Awesome! Now our star is truly Kirigami. We might have to stop here for the day, but something you might want to do with your Kirigami star is add a background. If you would like to attach your Kirigami star to anything, take any kind of glue and apply it to all 5 points of your 5-pointed Kirigami star. Place it onto a fresh piece of paper, maybe a piece of construction paper or scrapbook paper to add some pizzazz, and gently press down the points at the very tips. I went a step further. I added another blue background to the pink background, and I decided to add another pattern all the way around the sides. I hope you had a blast today learning about Kirigami and creating your own patterns. I'm really excited to see how they turn out. Great job, you guys. And again, thank you so much for doing this project with me and having me here. See you later.